Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee's meeting for Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. All council meetings will be live streamed on the city's website, and for guest speakers joining us at the table, please do not turn off your microphones. Our first order of business is roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Sharland, Mr. Coghill, Ms. Gross, Mr. Lavelle, Mr. Mosley.
Here.
Ms. Salinetro.
Here.
Ms. Warwick.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Ms. Strasburger, Chair.
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before city council. Profanity will not be permitted. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Chief Ikahana Halmakina.
Greetings and good day. My title is Chief Ikahana Halmakina. I'm the Grand Inca of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aboriginal American People. Before I address the more pressing subjects, I'd like to bring awareness to the wasteful spending and lack of communication across utility companies and other service providers who show up in our neighborhoods, carve, cut, and dig up our streets without advance notice, disrupting lives, towing cars, and cutting down perfectly healthy trees that took in some cases over 100 years to grow, and no amount of redress can fix. Not to mention our handicapped and elderly neighbors and those with disabilities like myself. The inconvenience it causes us. The biggest disappointment is that when they are done, they leave ripples in the roads and property in dismay. I'm calling on City Council and City Planning and to address and implement a new set of standards and inspections, and also fines, if necessary, for companies who violate these new standards. Also, left in harm's way are the children that are made to walk over wooden boards, metal plates, completely unaware of the dangers that lay beneath those metal plates and boards, especially when it's snowing. Something more has to be done. I mean, when they're all done and they clean up and their trucks leave, they leave such a horrible mess behind. But I hope that you all are paying attention, and I also would like to thank Unique Brown for calling you all out, because I'm not able to always come there physically and in person, for not paying attention to the things that people are bringing to your attention. Next, I'd like to bring your attention to an incident that took place in January, similar to the incident that took place in West Mifflin, where the City of Pittsburgh police maced a group of teens, parents, and grandparents as a tactic to disperse and disrupt crowds. Somehow, City Council doesn't believe these things happen in the City of Pittsburgh. There was testimony given back in January as to this exact incident. Yes, what happened in West Mifflin is egregious. It is terrible. It is horrific that the Duquesne police escorted them, and when they met, it almost reminds me of Jim Crow South. No, it does remind me of Jim Crow South. It's terrible. We have a race problem here in this city and beyond, because these imaginary forces.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sherry Winston. Is Sherry Winston with us? Okay, we will move on to those in the audience wishing to speak.
Morning. Carlino Giampolo, Panther Hollow. Council members Barbara Warwick and Bob Charlin will be held personally accountable to the fullest extent of both civil and criminal law for any harm to longtime residents or homeowners of Panther Hollow by any skateboarder or their supporters relating to the illegal skate park in our neighborhood. I had already experienced 11 harassment incidents brought about by their illegal activities, yet these elected officials continue to choose to do nothing to prevent further occurrences. This past Friday, I experienced a 12th harassment incident. The serious question becomes, what higher level of tragedy are these elected officials waiting to occur before they end their complicit conduct in this criminal activity? Their complicity by their inaction and silence absolutely undermines the heroic efforts of the Director of Public Safety, Sheldon Williams, Police Chief Jason Landos, and Zone 4 Acting Commander Eugenio Perry to make Pittsburgh a safer place to live. Council members Warwick and Charlin are responsible not only for their own actions, but also for the consequences thereof in facilitating the harassment. They have emboldened skateboarders to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and to totally disregard longtime residents and homeowners' quality of life as if we are meaningless and don't matter. With the support of these two elected officials, skateboarders now have an extremely dangerous attitude of entitlement that this skate park is theirs and will continue to conduct criminal activities to keep it. I invite everyone to visit or revisit the website, pantherhollowplayground.com, to gain a deeper understanding of this issue. The focus of the approximately 7,000 words has been to awaken dignity, heal our community, and move on to the path of dignity to make positive change with harm to none. These two council members and those who support them for any reason are choosing to disregard those approximately 7,000 words and continue to be on the path of tragedy. On the other hand, I feel confident that the people I have met in Mayor Corey O'Connor's administration are on the path of dignity and will shut down the skate park. Further criminal activity by skateboarders and their supporters are a likely possibility. Councilmember Warwick and Charlin need to make a choice now. Either take appropriate action to end their horrific, shameful, complicit support for the illegal activity, or be held both civilly and criminally accountable should any harm come to longtime residents or homeowners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Her name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street. That's the high rise at the top of Bedford Avenue. I'm saddened today to have to send my condolences to Kim, our head clerk. Her uncle, Robert Davis, passed. He lived in the building where I did. He was my neighbor, and he was my friend. I used to joke with him because he was a dark-complected man. He had this sort of swagger about him, especially it seemed to be around the women. So the older women would be sitting right in the front at the door. And then one day I seen him, and it looked like he was really pimping to the side. So when I seen him, I said, I seen you in front of them women, the way you were pimping. I said, which one are you looking at? And he said, Yvonne, I just had a back operation. He couldn't help the way he was walking. But we talked, and also him, and he talked, if I mentioned Tim Stevens, see, a lot of people don't really understand why I say things about Tim. Well, in the first place, when I met him, and I mentioned about Tim Stevens working with the Police Review Board, he said, Tim was the union man for the Volkswagen. Remember, it was here in Pennsylvania, Volkswagen the company. He was the union man, and he swore up and down that Tim sold him out. He swore up and down. Now, it's the same way when Tim took the people up in my church, Bethel Amen Church, about the police review, whereas we must write down our questions, and he chooses what questions can be asked. And I'm saying, Tim, no, you wrong. Now, Yvonne Hines from OMI was there, and she said, I will answer every question I can as fully as I can. The one man asked a question that had been written down, but as she finished, he asked another one. So when he did that, she started answering. I put my hand up, and Tim runs up to me screaming, hollering, no, no, no. And I said to Tim, what's up, Tim? And all the people in the church looked at him, and he slid on back. Do you understand? He gets money from city council members to have this meeting, and we cannot ask the questions we want. He chooses. I told Tim, every question should be read and let the people make the decision. He's not an official employee. He's just a citizen just like me. But you give him $600 just to stand up and say what questions we can't answer? Think about it. Think. I want you to think about this. And another thing about them, with them children out there, did they have a line, a policeman saying stop? That they don't know what they were doing. You better look into it. They said that the mayor's looking into it. Look into it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Good morning. The missing child, Cerise Taylor, Special Agent Sunshine. Lord, thank you for divine intervention in the fraud in our government that all of these people are a part of. They know who I am, my real identity. They stole it, along with my house, property, assets, everything connected to my real name. They stole by changing my name on paper. I'm dead twice on paper. Hallelujah. Thank you to my real mother. Wherever you are, whoever you are, come out, because, baby, I'm not dead. And you're angry, whoever you are. You're angry because you can't tell me what to do. I'm a grown woman now. And your plan to kill me didn't work. But you got the insurance money. I hope it worked out for you. The wisdom for the day comes from Proverbs 10:9. The man of integrity walks securely, but he who takes crooked paths will be found out, Mosley. The Roots organization that you own is stealing my mail. And you know about it. Yet you sit there with that bow tie like everything is so good, and it is not. Who's my real father? Is it you? Go ahead, smirk, go ahead. Please, lightning is so real. It's so real. 100 trillion bolts, Lord, bring it, please, for these fake people up in here. Psalm 51:17, it says, my sacrifice, O God, is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. You, God, will not despise. Yes, my heart is broken because these people want me dead so they can keep what they stole from me, so that I can remain homeless and on the street. Well, I like clean, fresh air, and I've slept in the snow and the rain, and we'll see if you like it when it's your turn. In Jesus' name. It's amazing how they can sit here and act like everything is so okay. If you want to know how God feels about anything, check the weather. A little chilly, huh? A little cold outside. A lot of people out there in it. Y'all ain't helping none of them. Why hasn't nobody come in here, Lavelle, and said, Jesus, thank you, Lavelle. Thank Lavelle Estates for finding me a room, a place to live. Me and 20 of my friends got us off the street. That building real shabby, too, right there on the hill. Why was power out on the hill? Because God's angry, I promise you. Thank you, Lord, for using me as a vessel to still be here standing on your promises, to do your will, not mine. Here's a faith step for everybody. Pray about a way you were broken. Take it to the master carpenter, who is Jesus. Listen and allow Jesus to make the necessary repairs in your life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sorry.
My name is Unique Brown. Good morning, children. I say that respectfully and continuously until an adult in this room can actually answer some of the questions that I have, or even look into the pain that keeps being brought to you. I'll stop calling you that when somebody up there shows me what leadership actually looks like. Because right now it feels like we're talking and no one is listening. I'm from this city. I was born in my house on Whiteside Road. This is my city. And my mother has been fighting this city through different council members, different presidents for over 20 years. First at the school board, then at this council. Showing up, speaking out, believing in the system, and for years she told us that they don't really listen, they don't really help. And I didn't want to believe her. I wanted to believe that if something ever happened to me, if I ever needed help, somebody would be there to listen. But it took me to go through it. It took me standing in places I never thought I'd be. It took me needing help and not getting it to finally realize she was right. She was out there fighting for the city because the people elected to do it do not. So imagine having to ask the system for help that's supposed to protect you, and instead of being protected, you're lied on by someone in power, by the CEO herself, by someone you told your most vulnerable memories and stories, and they choose to misuse their power. Imagine that. Really just a flat out lie, and I can't even challenge her. So who can answer that question? Y'all are not just there just to sit. Somebody can look into a shelter that's in the city of Pittsburgh. Not just the council member, not just county council either. City council needs to look into this. I need to know what's going on. I'm going to take it above our heads to the Domestic Violence Coalition. I'm going to do all the steps I'm supposed to do, but y'all have to do something other than make speed bumps that mess up people's cars, except for in certain communities, or just smile for proclamations and nobody even offered my mom one, and y'all smile and say how she fights hard on it. So please, somebody just answer a question or look into that. Tell me why she can do that. She's a CEO. Tell me why she can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Are there any further speakers? Seeing no further speakers, we will move on to our standing committee's agenda. Our first committee is the Finance and Law Committee. We have deferred papers. Bill, we have bills that could be read together. I will defer to Council Member Coghill for a minute if he wishes to take all three together or one by one.
I think all three together
Okay.
will be fine.
So-
I'm counting on Chief Gilman to be here. I hope maybe he's on his way. Okay, yeah, sure.
Bills 2026, 6, 7, and 16, Madam Clerk.
Bill number,
I'm sorry,
just
just bills in 7, my apologies, yeah.
Bill 6, resolution authorizing and directing the mayor, solicitor, director of planning, and director of the Office of Management and Budget pursuant to 204K of the Home Rule Charter to provide appropriate notice and terminate contract with Sasaki and Common Cause Consultants per Article 3.2, termination of the agreement. And Bill number 7, resolution authorizing and directing the mayor, solicitor, director of planning, and director of the Office of Management and Budget pursuant to 204K of the Pittsburgh Home Rule Charter to provide appropriate notice and terminate a contract with HR&A Advisors and Urban AC LLC per Article 3.2, termination of the agreement.
Motion to approve, brief discussion.
Second, with
Okay, I'd
discussion,
like
Councilman
to
Coghill.
call Chief Gilman and Director Yvette, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. Yeah, all right. Mangala Winston, nice, all right. You know the routine, right? introduce yourself, right?
Dan Gilman, Chief of Staff for the Mayor.
Yvette Mangala Winston, Director of City Planning.
Okay, thank you both for being here. I made a promise to this council that we would try to wrap up the comprehensive plan and the saga that's been going on with it for many, many months. And I'm pretty sure and confident, and I hope the council will agree that we will do that today. So I'd like to just take a minute just to explain the conversations that we've had, Director, and us, Chief, and then you could chime in accordingly, okay? So I think originally, when we purchased or when we decided to dedicate the funding for this plan, we were expecting something different. I think, I don't want to speak for all council members, but I think we all feel like we overpaid for the entire plan, right? As you know, I put in to rescind that, I want to say 1.7 million is probably the most accurate figure we have left from the funds that were available. However, I believe that this body, and I know the administration, wants to finish the comprehensive plan. We're already too far in.
Yeah.
So, there were some complications as to, we're already 2/3 of the way in as far as money being spent with this comprehensive plan. And, the problem is we still needed a lot of money to finish this plan, right? So there were still some technical things that we really can't do in-house. So to finish the plan, had we grabbed it earlier and said we wanted to draw back money, possibly we could have drawn back more money or money from the original plan. But as it was in your lap, when it became in your lap, it was, only certain 1.7 million left. And of course we need funding, and that's still undetermined how much, but it's in order to complete it and make it a good plan that's suitable for the city of Pittsburgh and all council members. And I know we're going to do a whole different engagement process and everything like that, but in the meantime, holding this up was kind of holding back the money that you need to proceed, and you wish to proceed, and you hope to finish this summer at some point, right? So it was hard to draw back money. I wanted to take it all back and hopefully finish it in-house, but that wasn't real feasible. In speaking with Chief Gilman, he had stressed that he was going to go out and try to find alternative funding from some of our foundations. So I want to be clear as to the companies that we're under contract with. This was never a knock against them. In fact, most people, including Chief Gilman, speaks very highly of their work and the good works that they do. So it was never, ever meant to, denigrate the good work that they do. So I want to thank the Heinz Foundation. I think most of us have seen your success, Chief Gilman, as to securing that monies. $750,000 coming from the Heinz Foundation that will go towards completing the plan, which allows us to take that $750,000 out of the monies that are there and put that back into our operating budget at some point, which is beautiful, right? It took us 12 weeks probably to get to this point, but if it's saving $1 million, it was well worth it. So we got $750 coming from the Heinz Foundation, thank you to them, and the Pittsburgh Foundation to coordinate with them. We also are going to live up to, at the time, Dr. Bay, under the old administration, Gainey administration, said that they could complete this, and they were willing to give back $250,000. So we're going to honor that, which puts us at a cool even $1 million that we will save taxpayers dollars for, and that will go back into our operating budget, as we all know we desperately need with the recent findings as far as our debt goes. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's a big drop. It's 39th if we're 40 million projected. So it's a start. I'm confident that we're going to find other ways and other avenues to whether cut, shift, do things we need to do to keep afloat. So I want to thank you, Director, for your time and your willingness and explaining how we're going to complete this plan, and I look forward to engaging with you in my district as to what it means for my district, because we know this plan will help lead our newly minted planning commission.
Yeah.
So that's important to all of us, of course. Chief Gilman, great job. As I said, there wasn't a whole lot of money that we could have drawn back and finished this plan in a good, proper way. So really the only way we were going to get money back is if Chief Gilman went out there and hustled and found a willing participant in the Heinz Foundation and great work on your part. So this ensures that we are going to have at least $1 million of savings that goes back into our operating budget, which is so desperately needed. And I believe, if my math is right, Director, this leaves you with about $1.5 million to complete the plan.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
And we're confident that you can do it with that. In fact, we're confident you can do it for less than that. So we're hoping on top of the million, it's $1,200,000, $1,300,000, whatever you can do to trim costs.
Yes.
And, keep that budget intact and hopefully come in under the I want to say 1.45 million, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. None of these numbers are exact. So that's the point we're at, and I wanted to. I know I talked to some members. I didn't get a chance to talk to all members, but basically we're saving $1 million thanks to Chief Gilman's good work in securing that 750, getting the 245 back, and my intent is to table my legislation today so that our director can proceed with, finishing the plan, because right now it's all being held up because of this bill. So this way she can start drawing on money, engaging with the contractors and proceeding and hopefully finish in a timely manner this summer, and we get a great plan that's good for everybody. We save the taxpayers at least $1 million, and I think it was well worth it. It's taken some time and a lot of deliberation, but $1 million is $1 million, and I'm happy to have it. And again, thanks to the Heinz Foundation that they came through for you, Chief Gilman. And let me just be clear: you don't have any other people out there that you're talking to that we may even get more back, and because it's not too late, we could proceed and we still open it.
My phone is always on for anyone looking to support.
All right, good deal. Well, if all you get was a 750, you did a good job, and I'm happy and I'm proud of you. And if we can say again, what it means is $1 million to the taxpayers, and it was well worth it for them. So with that, I will cede to whether your comments or questions from council. So
would you like them to talk at all?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to ask for a seat change next year. So that's all. I just wanted to sum it up.
There's a response, and then we have other council questions.
Very quickly, and you Councilman said everything. So first of all, I'd like this my second time at the table since coming back, and both times I'm coming with outside money. So if we can just keep this going, this is the best way to come to the council table, is always bringing money.
Yeah. You're always welcome with that.
No, but in seriousness, I think this is a testament to when council and the mayor's office work together, and when we have the positive relationship with our philanthropic community, our corporate community, our nonprofits. This is what we can do. Cities should have strong comprehensive plans, and I commend council and the previous administration for recognizing that. We also believe that it could have been done for less money. I will say, as you noted, I have been immensely impressed with our consultants on this project. They are very talented. They are national leaders, and I think we are going to end with a plan that council and the community can be very excited about. To do it, this will continue all of that work. I will take it one step further, and I appreciate your conservative nature. I'm very confident we will save over $1 million.
Great.
The way this will be structured, to your point, thanks to the Heinz endowments, they will be making a $750,000, or they've appropriated, I want to be very clear, $750,000. That will not come through the city. That'll go directly to the consultants. At the end of the project, when it's closed, we will close out the contract that are the subject of the bills today, and we'll be able to close it out with over $1 million left in them that will then go back into the general fund to address our financial needs of the city with a completed plan. The director and I met this morning. There will be at least one meeting per council district during the drafting process so that everyone has a chance. There will then also be meetings, more regional, once there is a draft for final review. Obviously, city planners and our Office of Community Affairs is out and about in your communities at meetings and can address individual concerns you have as a member or that your community has. But we'll continue that public engagement and the technical work over the coming months with the hope of a beautiful completed plan by roughly end of summer time frame. We're finalizing that, but certainly this year, and we'll be able to close out that contract this year with over $1 million of savings for taxpayers.
Thank you. Councilmember Warwick.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, this is exciting and very appreciative to the Heinz Foundation and to Chief Gilman for getting that set up. I did want to ask, so for the Heinz endowments, was there anything in particular that they want to see, like, going forward, so that now that they're invested in this, if you could speak to that?
Yeah, I think that I think we're very impressed with the general path we were already on, and wanting to be able to see us to do that without cutting too much, though we are cutting more than the 250 that had previously been discussed by the previous director. We found further areas that we thought we could cut, but the general pathway of community engagement, they also believed in the technical expertise we had on board, and the steps that we need to take through a almost final draft review process and then a final draft review process, as well as expanding who was at the table. I think there was a belief from our administration that was shared more broadly, that more broader engagement is positive, and that in particular there were some core constituencies who hadn't been at the table for whatever reasons, that if this plan is going to be successful and have broad buy-in, we need to reach out to. So we've already begun that process of bringing some constituent groups who had not been as engaged as we thought they should be to the table, and Heinz was happy to support that work.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I know, so did you say that there will be one meeting per district? Is that the?
I would say at least one.
Okay.
I don't want to say that it'll be two per, but I do think just because of geographic, some districts are obviously very large. There may be some council districts that have two, some have one, but every district will have at least one.
Okay. I mean, I will say, just for the record, in my district, the two constituencies that I felt were not engaged in the plan, and by the way, the meetings were great. I mean, I've said this before, like the citywide meetings were great. I participated in one of them. The only concern I had was that I kind of recognized too many of the faces,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like I just kind of knew it was like, okay, these are the people who were always engaged. So obviously for my district, there is the Hazelwood community, specifically Glen Hazel. They of course have their own neighborhood plan, which, is.
Yes.
And then the 31st Ward, which is not really engaged in much, and I would love to see them involved in this plan. So and I would also love like a coming together of all the communities in my district, right? So that they can also get to know each other, bring the neighborhoods together. So anyway.
I can speak a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
A little bit more detail about the engagement process. Because as we've been refining the numbers, simultaneously defining an engagement approach moving forward, so that we're very intentional and specific about how many meetings across the city, what we're engaging around, and learning from what we heard at the end of last year. So I have a recommended approach, which we'll be following up with. We wanted to get through today and make sure we were all on the same page, but based on population density, based on my one-on-ones with council, things that we have understood and heard from their districts. So there's a little bit of flexibility within where we are right now, but we're going to stick to the numbers. And so working within that context. And we, once we do have the ability to proceed, we'll share a simple outline of the engagement strategy. So.
And I just want to reiterate, I think there's two things, and I think I've heard council say this in the past and in the press. There are large community meetings that are facilitated, have the expertise, have our consultants engagement, and then there, of course, all the community meetings you're at every night.
Yes.
We have city planning staff and OCA who can come. So if there are communities that may not have a large meeting, but we need to have that extra focus, the impact on neighborhood X, that absolutely can be done in-house by our teams working in coordination with your offices. So the only engagement is not the 10, 11, 12, 13 meetings. It has to be a much more ongoing engagement with our neighborhood organizations.
Yeah, I should clarify that. Our proposed engagement approach assumes ongoing communication with council every month about the plan, as much or as little input that you want to be involved in, and as Dan was saying, attending meetings and doing updates along the way. So it's not that, my intention is that by the time we go to Planning Commission in hopefully September, that as many people will be plugged in and bought in and see themselves in the vision for Pittsburgh, so that hopefully this is a very implementable and adoptable plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Councilperson Charlin.
Yes, thank you for being here. Thanks for the great news here. I do want to ask, so, we kind of budgeted or understand that a comprehensive plan for a city of our size should cost somewhere in the range of like $1.5–2 million. The reason an industry standard comprehensive plan should capture 5% of the population. Ours is going to capture, we were told the reason why ours is going to cost $6 million is because it'll capture 10% of the population. That additional 15,000 residents is what the additional $4 million is for. Are we still planning on capturing responses and engagement from that additional 15,000? Is the plan still to have 30,000 engagements in this comprehensive plan?
I mean, I assume that is still our intention, and to exceed that wherever possible. I would like to add that also part of why this costs more is because it includes an implementation matrix that will help city departments work together to implement some of these things and identify potential funding sources and help make decisions about the budget. Hopefully will support the city in making some of those decisions. So it is not just your standard comp plan, and if all goes well, hopefully this will be a leading national example also, which is as Chief Gilman was saying, why we have the consultants on board. My understanding is there are some additional, bells and whistles, let's call it, that is going to be more practical for everybody's use. And so, yes,
So
yes, and I guess,
That's, I wanted to get the understanding of the 30,000 number first.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
I've got
assuming that
questions
is
about
still the
implementation
intention.
next.
So I'm assuming, yes,
I will say I don't think I'm prepared to answer your question, but I'll get you an answer on that. I hadn't heard that number, so I don't want it. But I will say from the areas that I have identified with others that we think we can cut, I would call that cuts of redundant engagement rather than new opportunities of engagement. So there's nothing that I've seen cut that I think would reduce that increased engagement. But to get you an honest answer on that number, I'd want to follow up and get back to you.
Yeah, so I think that is important. I think we can probably all name people that have probably been surveyed multiple times now that are community leaders that we know come out to kind of everything, and we see their faces once a week, and those are the people that I'm less concerned about in the comprehensive plan, because they're going to, their voice will be heard. The additional $4 million was sold to us as that is what will get us that additional 15,000 interactions there. I also wanted to talk about something that you already got to, which was the additional fees that will be at the end of the comprehensive plan. So we were also told when this comprehensive plan, the $6 million was for the plan, not for the implementation, that we were going to have to go back out for additional consultants for the zoning changes that would come from the comprehensive plan, the implementation those would all be additional consulting fees. Have we started thinking about what that's going to cost and where that money's going to come from?
Well, let me clarify what I know, at least. And again, I wasn't here, so I don't know what you were told. So I'll just say that.
Sure.
But the remaining budget does include an implementation matrix. So I don't know what you were told before, but it does include that piece. And so we will be working with city departments on that piece to make sure it's useful. In terms of and a digital dashboard. So we'll be identifying metrics of how do we know we're making progress on these things. And then that will be put into a digital dashboard. So that was part of the price tag that is included in this right now. What we will have, done by August or whatever. So in terms of the zoning piece, it will make some initial recommendations that then will inform our full zoning code update. And that is the only project, as far as I know, that then is an additional fee to revise our zoning code.
So that will be an additional.
Yes.
Will there be any other additional price
not
tags
that
at the end of this?
I am aware of at this time. I can double, triple check, but not that I'm aware of.
Because that's one of my big fears in this whole process.
No, I mean, it is my intention that we are delivering a proposed land use plan, a proposed zoning recommendations, low level, the implementation matrix, and I feel like there's one other thing. and the dashboard. So
If you were, so with that additional consulting fee for the, to take your recommendations from the zoning code and turn them into, how much are we talking there in terms of a consultant? How much is that going to be? An additional $1 million?
I can't speak to the cost on that, which we can get back to you on, but I know that the new zoning administrator, Caroline, is already laying the groundwork for that. We've talked about how long it takes and so forth, but we have not discussed numbers, so we can look into that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's my hope that there's minimal costs in addition to this, although very fortunate that we're able to save some cost here, but
I will clarify though that while the comp plan is going to identify the areas to improve in the zoning code, rewriting the whole code is a huge undertaking.
Sure.
So
fully understand.
I just want to make sure that there's common understanding there that it will be another major endeavor that takes a couple of years. So
fully understand. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Mosley.
Good morning. Good to see you. And before I begin my questions, I both want to, thank you for your, sincere messages of condolences. You both, reached out to me personally. I truly appreciate that on behalf of the Mosley family. I want to say congratulations. I think, you really figured out a way to thread the needle, to balance, the various concerns around this table and around the city. I know in District 9, the comp plan and the process was very popular. I got, numerous, calls and emails, throughout this process, asking me to maintain support through the process, through the many valid concerns that were shared by my colleagues around the table. So, I'm very encouraged by the fact that, we will continue to do the type of engagement and hopefully see the type of engagement that at least apparently happened in District 9 happened in some of the other districts that my fellow members didn't feel that same kind of engagement happen. Because one of, my concerns was a lot of times when these plans are implemented, around the country, we know that, and if you kind of just leave engagement processes up to themselves, the folks that show up tend to be more educated, wealthier, less diverse. So to be able to do that while also, saving taxpayer dollars, I think is really incredible. While also, continuing to maintain, a positive working relationship, with the consultants. So my first question would just be, could you talk about kind of the nature of the conversations, that you had, with the consultants, and how do you feel about the path of hand, and where are they at as best you can. Speak to, how they feel about the process. Because I know there was concerns, I had outreach from the consultants at a certain point in this process. So it would be good to hear from you about how you feel that where they're at and how we move forward.
Yeah, I think the consultants are really optimistic about where it goes. I had the chance to first engage with them during the transition period, actually in New York, with them in December. Past is past. I'm not in, no need in rehashing it, but I think there were things that happened that they didn't find helpful in moving things forward in the right way. And so we have taken their input into this. This is not just, how Mayor O'Connor sees it or the director sees it. We've, worked with our engagement consultant, which is, of course, the local partner on this, who have many subs, as well as the two technical consultants to frame what are the key things to complete a plan. And I think more importantly, and Councilman Charlene talked about this, and this I would say was my big thing in the conversations, is I don't want a really good plan that's award-winning that doesn't do anything.
Sure.
It is only a valuable plan if it's implementable, and that also means that the community leaders and members who have engaged are then further engaged in supporting the implementation of it. There has to be a level of ownership once your voice is heard that you back the plan, and that's been my big concern, and I think that was shared by the consultants, that there wasn't necessarily enough thought yet into where does it go after the document is released at a press conference, then what? And so I think we've tried to factor that into this with their support.
Absolutely.
I can add a little bit to that. Some of them may be even tuning in right now because I've spent the last 8 weeks collaborating with them to put together a budget that's realistic, that's based on their expertise, and recognizing what went well, what didn't go well last year. And so they are fully on board with the way forward. And I think all of you that know me know that I am big on making sure that action comes out of this plan. And so I am being clear with them about ensuring that we're thinking about that along the way now that we're heading into what are the recommendations for how Pittsburgh grows, that we are recommending things that, the city can truly implement, that people are at the table that are going to make that happen. So they're excited to get started. I'm also really passionate about youth and other constituencies being involved, because the reality is they're the ones that are going to be here 25 years from now. So they're excited to share the engagement process moving forward and how we're going to try to get as much, broad-based buy-in as possible.
And if you could speak to the implementation matrix outside of the zoning code stuff, what other, at a high level, what other things, beyond overhauling the zoning code, do you see the implementation matrix informing?
I would say things around making it easier to move through city processes around certain issues, collaboration between departments. Always, I think, building on Pittsburgh's character of mixed-use neighborhoods and having more amenities close to housing and so forth. A lot of these, I think, forward-looking things that will build a more vibrant city, will really have this be a place where people are choosing to relocate to, but you can also stay and your kids will grow up here and build their wealth here. I think we're looking to make some of those high level pivot on how planning is done, perhaps, to build a great city.
I appreciate that. And beyond the support that, the comp plan had in my district, one of the other reasons why, I was in such support of it was my good friend and now new planning commissioner, Bob Reppy, on a Friday night at D Six Packs, and I hope it wasn't, the refreshments and the good food that we were having that Friday night is what swayed me. I think it was his expertise, and insight that swayed me about the importance of having a comp plan. Of all the things that we talked about, one of the things he also mentioned was, given his experience at city planning and the work that he does at CMU as far as positioning the city better for federal funding and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about, now that you've had your opportunity to wrap your heads, around the plan and think about in the new administration moving forward, what are some of your thoughts about, how the comp plan, when completed, positions us for federal funding, particularly in a world where, we have a friendlier Washington, understanding that, the current, federal government is hopefully not the default federal government we have moving forward into future administrations.
Yeah, I think if this plan goes the way I think it should and can, we will have guidelines and vision that has community buy-in and council support around things like greenways, around landslides and landslide prevention, around flood prevention and flood mitigation work, around transit-oriented development and zoning and planning processes to support TOD, around job growth sectors, not the type of job necessarily, but the groundwork of the community of these areas can support more industrial job growth. These areas can support more dense commercial development. That allows us to then go to the state and, to your point, DC, hopefully in the future, where there's more money available, to go after those types of dollars, to say we don't need a planning study. We've got the study. We need the implementation money. With this, we will be able to see, the councilwoman's not here, but things like we announced yesterday in Ferrywood, as a growth sector to go, because that is a prime place where we can do that type of investment in the city. Or this is a chance, in the Sawmill Run corridor to do this work to address flood mitigation, because we now have it all mapped out.
Thank you. I thought that exhausted my questions, but congratulations and thank you for threading the needle, and looking forward to working with you over the next few months to bring this over the finish line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you. I appreciate you all being here. It's always welcome to get outside money into the city budget. As you know, I voted no on the comp plan in 2024 and again in 2025. And, you know, you've probably, my colleagues have heard me read these numbers multiple times. It's because my staff did research. In fact, this is dated 2023. So do I have my years wrong? Yeah. So we did the initial research, I think, in December. Maybe this was, document was earlier, but we typically look at our benchmark cities, the ones that, you know, we've been tracking for Pittsburgh Quarterly for 25, 30 years, something like that. So some of them used to be the same size as Pittsburgh and really aren't anymore, like Austin or Seattle, right? When we started benchmarking them, we were about the same size in population. And my objection was, I want to make sure it's clear, it's the total cost, but it's the total cost to consultants. Right, some of these departments some of these benchmark cities did their entire comp plans in-house, right? So it's just part of payroll with their in-house planners. And we have a large planning department. I've actually probably lost count because I advocated for years to increase the planning staff. Councilman, when Chief of Staff was councilman, he saw me try to increase the capacity in our planning department because the city was undergoing so much change. My district was a little bit of the canary in the coal mine that we saw change before other parts of the city. So how do we know how many people are on payroll and planning now?
56.
56, yeah. I wasn't sure that was over 50. That's a big planning department, honestly, right? And so I think there is capacity in-house. There should be for that much payroll. And so it was that we were paying $20 per capita. This is how we kind of broke it down, right? It's like, oh, Austin paid, you know, $1 million for their comp plan in 2020, but that's only $3 per capita, right? And so if Pittsburgh had paid that in consulting fees, we would have only paid $900,000 total, not $6 million to consultants, et cetera, et cetera. And most of the cities, when they paid consultants, they only paid $1 or $2. Cincinnati paid $500,000 to consultants, but it's a city of our size, 300,000 people. So that's only $1.62 to consultants. So we should, you know, if we'd paid $500,000 to consultants, I might have voted yes, right? So we're paying, you know, $6 million, that's $20 per capita. And we just could not find a city anywhere that was even remotely close to that price tag. The highest price tag we found was about $5 per capita. But that place, which I'm not finding in my tiny chart on my tiny phone, and I've forgotten what it is, was entirely foundation funded. So that was zero, that was not a penny out of their operating budget for the consultants. And so I heard you say, Chief Gilman, that you agree that the price tag was too high. And again, we're all familiar with the consultant company that got the bulk of the money, that like about $3.6 million, I think, is the technical contract to HRNA. Most of us have seen HRNA do amazing work in other cities, right? Fascinating work on other topics, not just comp plans, right? Like I saw them present on white papers on public banking. I love that. I still have that white paper, you know. I mean, they're really interesting and smart people. But I'm going to ask you, Chief Gilman, because I think you just went down the best bullet list I've had in over 2 years of talking about this, about why are we doing a comp plan. I've asked it off the record when we were having briefings before we ever knew what the price tag was going to be, and I've asked it at the table repeatedly, like, we're not required under the state statute to have a comp plan. I've heard people say that. You know, the Pittsburgh's required under state law. We're not required under state law. I've read it myself. You can go read it. So why are we doing a comp plan?
So I'll answer in two parts. I'll go backwards as if I were sitting at the table 3 years ago. I'll first say, at this point, we're doing it because I believe once we've invested, 6 minus 1.7, so $4.3 million of taxpayer money, to flush that down the toilet is criminal. And so to be able to complete it now and save $1 million, we believe is the right thing to do. If I were sitting here 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and answering your question, I believe a comp plan that is done right that has community buy-in joined with all level of government support that prepares us for a growth strategy that is thoughtful, strategic, and widely supported will allow us to grow in a responsible way. You know, you commented on your canary in the coal mine. You know, when I sat here as a colleague, had there been more of this work done before some of that happened in Lawrenceville and Polish Hill and parts of your district that saw rapid growth, I think some of the actions we've all taken to address it after could have been done ahead of time and avoided some of the challenges we've seen with rapid growth. At the same time, areas that have seen little to no growth might have seen growth and investment in the right way. But instead, we never had that process and buy-in that was shared at this table, in the mayor's office, in the controller's office, you know, and in our communities. And I think that opportunity is here for us to take.
And I just want to add one more thing. For me, the functionality of this comp plan will document how you want, in the end, you know, for you as city council, how you envision your district looking in 25 years. It'll provide predictability, which should expedite, you know, things happening, development and so forth about how the city is going to look 25 years from now. So where residential is happening, where there are job centers, is residential density staying the same? Are you getting more dense in some areas? And this will codify that so that if somebody comes into your district and they're like, I want to build a roller coaster where you called for residential, it can more easily get through the process, you know, if it's aligned with what's in the comp plan. So I am hoping this plan is going to help all of us grow the city the way we want it to and not be in response mode all the time.
And I'll just add, because I think it's you and I shared this area over the years, and far from perfect, but I always look at Baum Center as one of the greater successes, and that was a ton of work done by a bunch of neighborhoods coming together: Friendship, Bloomfield, Oakland, Shadyside, East Liberty, working together. Did I forget anyone? I don't think so. Working together, creating an overlay district, and really seeing a transitioning corridor transition the way the community envisioned it most of the time. Not perfect. If we had done that process citywide, I think about what could have been. And my hope is that's what this allows us to do.
So as I've said earlier, like, I do believe in plans and planning, right? So I also am lucky to have neighborhoods who just funded it themselves and did it themselves before I was ever elected, right? So, you know, there was a central Lawrenceville plan separate from the lower Lawrenceville plan, separate from the upper Lawrenceville plan, and those were fundraised for and, you know, done by professional firms with robust community input. And maybe now there's certainly there's lots of thoughts and feelings about kind of how Lawrenceville has changed over the last 20 years, but I think most of the people who were engaged in those plans agree that it did inform the attraction of investment. Again, there are people who maybe have mixed emotions about that now and rue some of it for sure. It's not a complete, you know, unanimous consensus or anything, but we do see that putting a plan in place does make it easier for people to understand kind of how they can plug in, right? If you, let's just use the opposite of big developers, right? If you can see that there is a plan for rich, small floor plate, dense commercial district, right? That's maybe on mass transit and is close to housing and the kind of trolley car neighborhoods my district was mostly built on, most of my district was built on, then you may attract more small businesses because they know there's going to be other small businesses moving in there, and maybe you can attract that state kind of Main Street development, facade improvement grants, all the kind of stuff that we know are tools that we've used over the decades. I also heard you mention greenways landslides, and that's a really hot topic for my district, for sure. We've experienced quite a few of those. I think we have the city's longest retaining wall now over landslide that people knew was happening for about 20 years. Again, well before I was ever elected. I'm quite certain I've talked to you about that as a council person and as in the mayor's office, right? And so we have a retaining wall there now. The land is not sliding anymore, but we might have avoided it, right? Again, long before I was elected, if the previous 4 or 5 mayors ago and DPWs ago, and the city had not been in austerity and all those things had aligned, that could have been probably avoided, at least being so big. So what I'm hearing is, and certainly Councilman Bill Peduto sponsored I think it was the Hillside Commission,
Yeah, the Hillside
right?
Preservation
And
Act.
you would have
Yep.
been in his office then, right?
I was.
And so that was kind of the beginning, if I'm understanding our history correctly, the beginning of the greenways.
I
No?
don't know.
Did it not
I'm not
beget
sure.
the greenways? I mean, I would
Maybe.
have assumed like saying this land is undevelopable. Well, I think was the beginning of the greenways, right? Because the steep slope and the landslide risks and all those kinds of things. So again, we're going back to the 1990s or 2000s, early 2000s. So we're also saying there can't be development some places.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's part of the infrastructure recommendations is what should be protected as or avoided as floodplain and landslide prone.
Right, and so, and when, this is important because not all cities have the same soil or topography or geological features and all that kind of stuff. And so we have areas that, if we do screw up and build something that falls down, it costs millions, right? We've seen millions because a sewer line shifted. And so an entire neighborhood in the South Hills needs a new sewer line because 20 feet underground, the ground moved. And so that can bankrupt us. I mean, honestly, right? Like we need to be smart about the infrastructure. So I think for many years at the table, I certainly know I've said, and I think others have said that like, if we're going to plan where housing is, we also need to make sure that like the sewer, the water, God knows, the electric, cable, all those things are working. Right? Instead of like building the housing and then having to tear it all up to replace the 100-year-old gas line or something like that. So, because we're all living through that. Most of us around the city, we're replacing the 100-plus-year-old water lines that should have been replaced by the 1980s or the 1990s because they should have been replaced at 70 years old. And we're also seeing a lot of gas lines be replaced again because you can't have a gas line get old. That's not okay. So that makes a lot more sense to me. Like I think when we've asked this question before, the answers just weren't strong enough to justify the $6 million expenditure, for sure. And I still say that price tag is too high. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of talk about why even do this and what benefit we're going to get. Even after like swallowing, to me, this bitter pill of having expended over $4 million, and it sounds like by the time we're done, we will have expended $5 million.
Probably not quite 5, but we will expend
Close.
more. But I think we will stay south of 5.
Good. If we can even share this on, so grateful to Councilman Coghill for doing most of the negotiating here, and to the administration for getting the outside funding. I am a co-sponsor on these bills, so I'm glad that we were able to at least put the brakes on a little bit on not expending the full $6 million. So if any other thoughts about, again, what can the citizens look forward to that we've spent this money instead of fixing another pool or opening another rec center? Like we spent this money instead.
We shouldn't have. So it's hard to answer your question that way because I'm in full agreement with you that that was not the right amount of money to spend. So it's hard for me to answer your question that way. With that being said, it has been spent, and it is now our duty and obligation to deliver to the taxpayers something that helps their neighborhood be a stronger neighborhood in the future, that provides guidance on where we invest their tax dollars, especially, and I have a feeling I'll be back at the table in the coming weeks talking about that. As we have to make tough decisions, let them be informed decisions rather than blind decisions, so that their tax dollars are stretched to the most impactful and efficient way possible into actual capital priorities, code changes, future, to the point of, I think, Councilman Charlin's question about, the zoning code changes that will need to come eventually as we think about that it's done with eyes wide open.
And I can just add a few on the what to expect here in the next couple months to just bring clarity to we're going to be we're going to be doing engagement around recommendations for 4 core things. So housing, how housing is either where housing is going, where it's growing, what's happening with current housing, really just filling in the gaps in neighborhoods, what that should look like. So housing, economy, we're calling it, like, so that's job centers, like where is the synergy happening, like to what Chief Gilman was saying earlier, is getting alignment on these employment areas and what types of employment, jobs, so forth. So economy, then mobility around key connections to either, make sure that there's improvements or where there are missing connections. So there's a mobility section, and then finally infrastructure, which goes to where are we investing in? Parks, greenways, what are we not building on? What are we protecting? So we are designing our engagement process to be specific about those things in each of the districts. So
I think that's most of my thoughts. One final thought, which you don't need to respond to, was that before we were faced with this legislation and the price tag, in one of our briefings, I said, but this plan, does it apply to PWSA? And the answer was no. There's no jurisdiction. And what about the transit system, PRT? No, there's no jurisdiction. What about the schools? No, there's no jurisdiction. And so that's a bummer.
Can I say, though, that they are
like, how do you plan? Well, I mean, was showing up to a charrette?
No, I understand enforcement as a separate thing, but we are intending to collaborate with them to make sure the recommendations are reflecting some general.
Well, I suggested that we did a co-op before we expended the money, but that would have been a better thing to do, probably, to get a kind of at least a memo of understanding, which I don't think is in place. So, yeah, it's hard to plan a city when you don't have control over a lot of the kind of fundamentals, like you would in like a Sim City, right? So, unfortunately, we don't have that power. I don't know if you want to respond.
I think
yeah.
Bummer summed it up very well.
Yeah, it's a bummer. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The motion on the table is a motion to approve and a second. Is there an additional motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to table bills 0006 and 0007.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling Bill 6 and 7, please say aye.
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 So you need a roll call.
Thank you. Yes, roll call.
Mr. Charland.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle. Mr. Mosley.
Aye.
Ms. Salanetro.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Ms. Strasburger, Chair.
Aye.
Ayes 9, no 0. Bills are tabled.
Thank you very much. Bills are tabled.
Thank you, Council.
Thank
you.
you. That moves us to Bill 16.
Bill 16, ordinance supplementing the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title II, Fiscal Article 5, Special Funds, to add a new Chapter 239, Fleet Vehicle Fund, to create a fleet vehicle fund to fully fund the City of Pittsburgh's fleet needs and establish the purpose for which monies in the fund may be used.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Councilmember Warwick.
Yeah, so thank you. I am going to call Jen Oltzinger up to the table from procurement, but just in the meantime, as she's coming up. So this bill, the purpose of this bill is to dedicate funding to our fleet. 2 months ago, we had a very severe snowstorm, and about 40 trucks broke down on day one of that storm. Over the past year, we've seen ambulances breaking down. Residents have seen their garbage pickup late, their recycle pickup missed, all because of broken down vehicles. Forestry does not have the equipment that it needs to effectively maintain our tree canopy, as we're seeing with these giant windstorms and trees coming down everywhere, old trees coming down. Just in the past weeks, we've seen fire stations with engines down. And, you know, I do want to remind folks that, you know, very recently we had the Jefferson apartment fire, which there were 27 vehicles that were needed to deal with that fire. So, you know, having engines, having stations without the vehicles that they need is a problem, right? So as a city, we are in crisis when it comes to the state of our fleet. We have heard from our public safety director, you know, over the past year, 2 years, we've heard from our public safety director, our public works director, the equipment leasing authority, the Office of Management and Budget, that $20 million a year is the absolute bare minimum that we should be investing in our fleet every year to kind of just to keep us above water. Controller Heitzler released a report this past fall that also highlighted the amount of money that we are wasting on repairing old vehicles, oftentimes spending more money to repair a vehicle than the vehicle cost originally, right? So really just, you know, and this is something that, you know, you can do at home. I do that myself. I'll run a van into the ground, but, you know, that's on me if I break down on the side of the road. If you know, a vehicle that we need for city services break down, that impacts our residents. And in Controller Heitzler's report, she noted that to get our fleet up to like 100%, where all the vehicles are kind of where they should be in terms of age, would cost close to $207 million over 5 years. So that's more like $40 million a year, right? So that's what this bill is about. I'll have a little bit more to say, but I just wanted to, Chief Oltzinger, I guess I just wanted to have you at the table, and I know that Furman Maurice was not able to be here today from who manages fleet for the ELA. But I just wanted to ask you about this $20 million number, which is the number we've been hearing for a long time. And I know that there was initially, when the bill was first introduced, some question about that number sort of being that bare minimum. So I'll let you speak to that.
Yes, Jennifer Oltzinger, Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Pittsburgh. Also, I handle fleet. That falls under my purview. Yes, the 20 million, I would agree that is the bare minimum to get us going. And at that point, it will take us about 10 years to get our fleet within its actual useful life cycle. Everybody knows that if we order a fire truck today, we're likely to not get it for 4 years. You know, that's also, you know, a big consideration. The lead times since COVID have just skyrocketed on a lot of things. Cost has increased with COVID, with tariffs, with, you know, everything. You know, everything is just getting. And look at fuel now. Mm-hmm. You know, I know that the administration plans to reopen the budget, and you know, right now we're spending about, on average, over $400,000 a month in repairs. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of downtime. Parts are getting harder and harder to find. Sometimes they have to be custom made because they're so in that vehicle has to sit and be broken down because the availability of the parts, because the vehicles are so old. So yeah, I mean it's an issue for sure, and I'm thankful that council and the new administration are really taking a serious look at this and finally taking, you know, the problem seriously, with just the money that Mayor Connor and Chief Gilman brought in from a couple of the nonprofits is huge. And I think that, you know, council's dedicated, this new administration is dedicated, and however we solve the problem, I feel like it's going to get the attention it deserves, and it's going to be addressed one way or another.
Yeah, and
I'm very hopeful for the first time in my 10 years here. I'm very hopeful.
And I do want to add to, so, you know, UPMC has committed $5 million for this year, $5 million for next year. PNC committed $2 million, just, you know, $2 million, which we get this year. But the real folks who have committed to our fleet are the taxpayers, because we this council raised taxes in large part, it's something that I introduced, right, in large part because of this fleet issue, right? You know, we raised taxes, it was to cover, you know, utility costs, overtime costs, but also fleet. So, and then after that tax increase passed, this council and the taxpayers of the city put in $10 million. So that's double what UPMC put in for this year, right? So the taxpayers put in $10 million additional dollars into fleet. And it was that $10 million from the taxpayers that brought us up to the $20 million that we needed for this year, right? And so then the UPMC 5 was on top of that, and the PNC 2. So I did want to ask you, though, because in initial conversations that we've had, or that I've had with the administration, there was some concern about maybe it wasn't 20 million, maybe it was a little less, maybe the numbers weren't. So I guess I want to ask you, just is there maybe a discrepancy between like the cost of buying one vehicle versus the cost of buying, say, 20 vehicles, right? Do you get a discount rate, like a bulk rate or something like that with vehicles? It's not something I'm familiar with, so.
To be honest, it's a question that I don't have an answer to, because we've never had the money to buy that many before. I mean, but for example, we used to buy about, say, 20 police interceptors a year. Mm-hmm. If I'm buying 5, or if I'm buying 20, that price from Ford really isn't changing much.
Okay. Okay, so in the past, buying more has not really impacted the price significantly?
Not significantly.
Okay.
Now, can we negotiate? Can we do RFPs? If I know that I will have, you know, and that's been the problem with the EL in the past, we just never know what we're going to have. Mm-hmm. So we can't make longer term commitments. You know, if I know that I'm going to have that UPMC money this year and next year, you know, we were able to negotiate with the ambulance contract, you know, to add more to that order this year and get a price for next year that is only slightly higher, because we knew we had that money. So when you have solid funding, you can negotiate longer term things, and, you know, with fire trucks, or, you know, if we're, you know, there's definitely a possibility to lock in some prices ahead of time.
Got it. So for long-term planning, in other words, when you have dedicated funding, right, and we see, you know, you see this in government for all sorts of things, right? When you have dedicated funding, when you know how much money you are going to have year over year, it allows you to plan more easily over time, and then, you know, potentially there's cost benefit to that as well.
We can also look into leasing too, which we did several years ago with some fire trucks. I think we're finally wrapping up the first fire lease. I think this might be the last year, so that, you know, but we legislated that, and we dedicated that money ahead of time for, you know, 7 years or whatever. We put that $1 million fire lease payment, but we legislated that, and we planned for it, and it was put in the budget. Mm-hmm. When you're able to do things like that, you know, you can spread the money out also over a period of years.
Okay. So one thing that I do want to stress, right, is that this is a problem that has been a decade plus 15 years, maybe even 20 years, right? So this is not, right, like this has been administration after administration after administration has been under-investing in the fleet, right? Correct. Has just been doing, again, like I do every year with my car, like, oh, it's good, we're going to get another year out of it. We're going to get another year out of these vehicles. We can keep driving them, right? Drive them until the wheels fall off. But we have now reached this crisis point because we have been doing that for so long. So this is not like a blame game. This is, you know, Mayor O'Connor is new, right? So this has fallen in his lap. However, he is the mayor, and it is this administration's job to solve this problem, right? And it is also our job as council, because it is a problem that we are acutely aware of. You know, the administration, you know, we've had long conversations about this, and you know, I've been given many assurances that this administration is committed to funding the fleet. I appreciate that commitment. I get, and they also, there is a distaste for trust funds, right? Like just sort of across the board, right? Which I understand that too. You know, trust funds, just for the public to understand, a trust fund is money that is locked in for a given purpose, right? And that creates inflexibility when you are crafting a budget, right? A yearly budget. So, you know, being able to move the money around the way that you'd like to is an easier way to do a budget. However, the trust fund is the only real option that council has to ensure that we are investing in whatever thing we as a body think that we should be investing in, right? So I do want to underscore that while, yes, council has the authority to take the mayor's draft budget and just like toss it in the garbage and rewrite the budget and spend money on whatever we think we should, that is not a best practice, right? That is not a smart way to run a city, right? You want your budget professionals to have, you know, all the information up front and be able to craft a budget based on, so that council then doesn't actually need to make a lot of changes. That is the best practice. So all of this said, I do believe that everybody here is operating in good faith. I do think that there's a commitment from the O'Connor administration toward fleet. And, you know, as we heard recently, there is an intention to reopen this year's budget, right? Now, we know that we have enough money for fleet in this year's budget, or enough, right? We've got more than we've ever had in a very long time, thanks to the taxpayers and UPMC.
Great problem to have.
Right. No, so taxpayers, UPMC, you know, so we have money for this year. But the question is, so every budget, this is just for the public, has funds dedicated. There's like a plan. There's a 5-year plan in a budget. And the current budget that we have, right, from the one that we approved for 2026, has like a minuscule amount of money for fleet. I think it's like $2 million, $3 million a year for the next 5 years. So, I mean, that's not even, I think that just covers our leases, right?
$1 million of it right now, I believe, right off the top would be the fire lease.
Right.
Those are almost over.
Yeah.
But I couldn't quote how many years we have left, maybe 2.
Right.
So yeah, that's
yeah. And so, and what we're seeing too is just, again, for the public, is that, you know, the way that the 2026, and why the budget is being reopened, I think in large part, is the way that the 2026 budget was written was done in such a way that in order to make it balanced, the estimates for the outer years were just drastically reduced, right, to very unrealistic, right, estimates.
That's my understanding. I'm not the budget person,
Right.
but that's
Right.
my understanding. Yes.
So, so the budget is being reopened. The administration has, you know, made it clear that they are committed to funding the fleet. We already have money, you know, there's going to be money. So we know UPMC is committing $5 million for next year. So there's already $5 million in there for next year for fleet. So what I would like to do, again, I would like to hold this legislation for 6 weeks or so. I want to let this budget opening process play out. We can take a look and see what's happening there. But I don't want to throw this legislation away, because as much as I believe that Mayor O'Connor and the administration is operating in good faith, we all know where we are with these vehicles, right? We all know where we are. But, you know, we have a mandate. We have a mandate from the ELA. We have a mandate from our directors, from OMB, from the controller, from our workers, right, who are on the ground, like driving these vehicles. or not driving these vehicles, as it were. And we have a mandate from the public to make sure this problem is addressed in a meaningful and a long-term way. So, that's what I'd like to put on the table now is just a motion to hold for 6 weeks. And I want to keep having this conversation, right? I want us all to keep having this conversation and keep banging this drum to make sure that we get our fleet to a place that it needs to be, right? Because it's every single piece of our operations, every single piece. Public safety, public works, parks, even finance and IT, right? Our inspectors, PLI, there's not a single department that does not rely on fleet. And so we need these vehicles working so that we can do our jobs at the city. So I guess I'll put that on the table, and I know there's other, go ahead.
Was that a motion, or would you like to discuss and then motion?
It's up to members. I mean, I'll make a motion to hold for 6 weeks.
Second.
In a second, and then I saw, we'll have discussion. I saw Councilman Coghill's hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank you for your persistence and, seeing that our fleet is right-sized. You've made a lot of advances, I think, whether it was your legislation or, holding this bill today. So I guess I want to say this. Well, by the way, welcome to the ELA board. I mean, that is official, right? Is that official? I know Mr. Yep. President, he appointed you. So that's good because you'll be on the front line with us. And I will tell you, as Jennifer has been saying, there's kind of a renewed energy in our Equipment Leasing Authority board, knowing that we have, over the next 2 years, at least $12 million extra that we can put towards the vehicles that we so desperately need. I would say, and Jennifer, I remember talking to you my first month in office. This is over 8 years ago, and you bringing this to my attention. So thank you for always letting me know, at least on the side, that, boy, we desperately needed to fund our fleet. And here we are 8-9 years later. Not much progress has been made, but more recently in the past, since the O'Connor administration, I feel, again, a renewed energy and renewed finances there. So I think it's going to be critical. The mayor campaigned on, talking about having our nonprofits fund our, whether it be ambulances, fire engines, whatever the vehicles may be, and he's made good on that so far. And I have a lot of confidence that the administration is going to continue to do that. And, whether it be the same pot of money or same nonprofit or other nonprofits joining in, I think that makes sense. I think it's the best way that we can write this. We don't have $20 million a year to put into vehicle. Obviously, that's what we should have been doing. But and when we do get to that point, and hopefully we do in my tenure here, where we have a stable fleet, I think the savings will really come in the way of, you mentioned before, repairs. I mean, we're spending, how many millions are we spending? $400,000 a month. So it's at 40. It's almost over. I don't even know what the figure is, but too much money we're spending on repairs. And eventually, once we get our fleet right sized, I think we'll see significant savings there, in the way of millions of dollars a year. So, and that will hopefully go back into our fleet management fund. So, I did want to express this because any chance I get, and I was talking to Councilwoman Warwick last night, and I know she'll help lobby for fire. I think they are our next logical step as to making sure that they have the proper vehicles moving forward. And I know it's a wait, as you mentioned, anywhere between 2 to 4 years. So I just want the public to know, I want fire to know that we've not forgotten them. Obviously, this money that the mayor secured was restricted to ambulance and public works, but that will also free up monies that we were going to spend for fire. So would you comment on that? Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think you're all well aware that Furman has a matrix that he uses to, with the engine hours, the mileage, the age, all these different factors. So I'm guessing we'll probably, of the 10 million that council put back into fleet this year. About 7 of that, we've moved money from ambulances to other things, whatever, but about 7 million, according to what we have, we have to meet with the ELA and we have to talk to the directors and see, obviously just because it's on a list doesn't mean it makes sense to buy. So we'll have to work with the directors to see, but I would say probably 80% of the things that are next on the list are fire things that we just weren't able to get, everything else, other things are just older and worse, which is, I mean, fire's in bad shape, but everything's,
Sure.
in bad
Absolutely.
shape. But the biggest thing with fire equipment is the lead time.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what their main concern is. They see us purchasing vehicles and they know their lead time is much longer than the typical, whether it's public works or police. I think they have the longest lead time because they have to be geared
Right.
and outfitted, right?
I mean, and if you talk to Chief Kakila, he'll tell
Yeah.
you they need 15 million a year just for fire.
Right. He's probably right. But
If we want to get things in the life cycle.
No, no.
Obviously, he knows that's not going to happen,
right,
but
right. No, he's been a
but-
staunch advocate, and he, like
Absolutely.
you, going back 8 years ago with me, he is on me about that. I remember meeting with him over at Mitchell's and painting this picture, and I'm like, wow. So that's good. It'll make them feel a lot better once we can actually order and let that clock start, so they can get those vehicles back. When we lease, we don't incur any repairs on the leased vehicles, correct? I mean, when we lease a vehicle, is it just like when a private citizen leases a vehicle, they are responsible? Are they responsible? I don't know. I've never leased
We're
a vehicle. So,
responsible for the
okay, so
repairs, yeah.
the engine goes on a leased vehicle, we're responsible.
it's basically just a way to stretch the payments out.
Yeah, but
Just like
most
your
leased
payment on your own
vehicles-
car,
right.
you're
Yeah, right. But most leased
in the
vehicles.
end you own it, but
Right.
you're responsible for the gas and the oil changes and the brakes and the tires.
Right,
And the,
right. Yeah, we're responsible obviously for the maintenance, but most leased vehicles are newer or new, where we don't have to worry about engines and transmissions and things like that. Is that correct? Okay. So thanks for the work you do. I look forward to rolling our sleeves up and getting the vehicles ordered that we need to order in order to sustain our fleet. We all know that the out years of 3.7 million, 3 million, I forget what they were, but the next 5 years are not sufficient. I believe this administration knows it. I think that they will, make the necessary, I don't know about us opening the budget in this immediate future, but by September, when the new 5-year outlook is, I believe it will be much different, because I believe this administration knows the importance of that, and whether it be foundation money or taxpayer dollars, either way, it's got to be funded. So thank you. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm done.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Sorry, did I see a hand? Motion and a second for 6-week hold. All those in favor of a 6-week hold, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill will be held for 6 weeks. Thank you very much. That moves us on to new papers.
Bill 227, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Sergeant's Court Reporting Services for legal transcript services for an amount not to exceed $5,556.40 over 1 year.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 227, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to invoices. Is there a motion on invoices?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Councilwoman Gross.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have some questions over, I think it's a license plate reader software, and I didn't, hold on, I need to find it on my list here so I can say it correctly. It's Cyclops Technologies. It's called Plate Smart Software. As you know, my staff and I have been looking closely at the kinds of surveillance technologies that we probably don't want to be using. And we've talked a great deal recently about how technology has changed, even since, City Council has approached this subject before and tried to put some parameters and barriers in place. I think those legislation, I supportive. They were both good pieces of legislation. There was one on facial technology. There was another one on cameras. But the technology keeps changing. And so what we understand now is that there are some of the softwares that we may be using, and there are very, very many. I don't even know how many total we have under contract, right? Could also be selling our citizens' data elsewhere, which is what we do not want, because there's way too much. It's a violation of privacy. And so I asked the administration about this technology specifically. And I'm grateful for the response. Sometimes we're catching these things kind of at the last minute. And so this specific technology does allow basically our police to do license plate searches, right? And now, again, because there's so much data bundling out there, it's more than just your DMV record, right? So it used to be that you would just look up kind of like there's, looked up your state information. Do you have warrants out for your arrest or something like that? But now, because of the bundling information, there's a lot more personal information that's attached to someone's license plate. And so the concern is that we not share that. The last time I questioned an invoice just a few weeks ago, it was that we have software that can follow you around and tell us where you are. And we have access to it, at least. We have it under license. But we only are using it if there's a judicial warrant, which is, I think, what the public wants to hear. And on this one, it does say that there's a policy in place that it allows outside agencies, which is maybe too vague for the current situation that we're in historically, to submit requests, and that we'll just hand over the information to the outside agencies. So I specifically followed up very last minute, thank you to the administration, to say, does that include federal law enforcement? And the answer is no. So it's consistent with the policies. Again, I'm not going to hold this one up. I think what we need is a much better awareness and understanding of so many. It seems there may be dozens of these kinds of technologies, what they can do, what other cities are doing for good policy. I do think our IMP department has been excellent at trying to stay in front of this, but that's very kind of behind the scenes. And so I would love, I'm trying to bring this forward to a public conversation. So I am working on legislation with the administration and with IMP about kind of updating what we have that's currently in the books, and also raising awareness about these kinds of technologies. So again, thank you to my staff for catching it, and thank you to the administration for answering these questions. We just want to be forthright and transparent about what we're doing. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion? Councilman Coghill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I thank you for doing the research. I didn't know, other information was tied to license plates today and of that nature, and especially finding out that it's not going to be shared with the federal government. It's comforting to everybody. I would say, on Brookline Boulevard, it's probably one of the longest business districts in the city of Pittsburgh, and it's very thriving, very busy. We had an incident up there a few weeks ago where somebody was targeting somebody coming out of an establishment there, and there was 28 rounds shot off. Nobody, thankfully, was killed. A miracle almost. But in talking to my commander, Commander Ripple, we do have cameras. The city does have cameras up there, but they are not the, I think, what did you call it, these Cyclops?
Cyclops.
Yeah, so they're not the license plate reading vehicles. Had we had them up on Brookline Boulevard, we got the make and model of the car and everything, but we're not able to get the license plate. I hope to integrate those onto Brookline Boulevard, as long as, in any other busy business districts. It would have been simple. We would have at least had the license plate and identified it, and probably connected that to the shooter or shooters, or, finding out exactly who was in the car and where the car was from. So I'm a big supporter of the license plates readers. Thank you, Councilwoman Gross, for always looking after the big brother, aspect of it. And so I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. Thanks.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of invoices, please say aye.
Aye.
Invoices are approved. That moves us to P cards. Is there a motion on P cards?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of P cards, please say aye.
Aye.
P cards are approved. That moves us to Public Safety and Wellness Committee, chaired by Councilman Coghill.
New papers, Bill 222, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Precision Auto Express Repair in an amount not to exceed $6,347.85 for repairs to a Pittsburgh Bureau of Police vehicle.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Bill 222, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 223.
Resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Major Cities Chiefs Association in an amount not to exceed $500 for payment of annual member dues.
Motion to approve, brief discussion.
Second.
Second, brief discussion.
Okay.
Councilman
I see
Coghill.
we have public safety here. Does anyone want to come and just, I have a couple questions about it. Does anybody? That's right, yeah. Mr. Cunningham, if you would just, state your name and,
Sure, Lieutenant Anthony Cunningham.
Lieutenant, yeah, thank you, Lieutenant. We've, join us? Oh, you're not joining us? That's okay, no, we're fine. This should take off.
He was here for the last one.
You know where he was going, all right, so.
What a fake.
Okay, gotcha, yeah, all right. So, Mr. Cunningham, it's a simple question. It's not a lot of money we're talking about here, but as I see, League of Cities, we have $25,000 here, so Chiefs Association, is that Pennsylvania or is that national? What is that?
So this is the Major City Chiefs. So this
Major
is
City
a
Chiefs.
national.
Okay.
There are about 80 major cities that are involved with this.
Okay, so, populations of, say, over 200 or 300,000 people.
Correct.
Major cities, and what do they do? Like, would our chief go to an annual conference? Does it help identify best practices?
Sure.
What's it do?
So in addition to online stuff, there are 4 conferences a year that they can attend to go with national strategies, try to develop best practices, look for after-action reviews to see what's going on, and to partner for large-scale events.
Right, so you find it beneficial?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that really is my question. I have other pots of money that were, again, and other members have commented that the League of Cities and other things like that were paying $22,000 a year a pop. This is minuscule, and if you tell me that it's beneficial and finding out bigger what other cities are doing, and we're actually going to attend, whether it's our chief or representative,
correct,
or you or whoever, and actually get this information and utilize it, then it's money well spent. But I just want to make sure it just doesn't, it's just not some membership fee that we don't capitalize on.
Yeah, we do actually attend and take part.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I appreciate you being here. That's it for me, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Mosley.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say hello.
How are you?
I have an old friend at the table. We worked so closely over the last year when you were the acting commander.
Yes,
Zone 5, we were almost an extension of my office.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciated all the
I don't know
help
how
and
many
support.
meetings that we sat in
Yes.
last year. So it's just good to see you. And I just want to, congratulate you, on moving into your new position. And I think Councilwoman Gross can attest. Commander Hoyson has been great. But I do miss you, so it's just good to see you. I just wanted to say hello.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for the great work you did with me. And I'm looking forward at some point for our cross to pass, our paths to cross once again in the future. But thank you for all you do. You're a great guy. Always good to see you.
Appreciate it, you too, and I appreciate all the support that I got for you while I was there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 223, please say aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That moves us to Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Salanetro.
Deferred papers, Bill 113, ordinance supplementing the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title I Administrative, Article 7, Procedures, by adding a new chapter, Chapter 174, Right-of-Way Accessibility Needs Inventory.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second, discussion? Councilmember Warwick?
Yeah, so I did have a chance to talk with Director Mangala Winston, and so I think that the city planning team now has a clear understanding of the intention of this bill, which is to kind of, come up with a plan for how we can better address our pedestrian infrastructure in the case of large snowfalls like the one that we had where the snow sticks around for a very long time. I don't have too much more to add. I tried to keep this as flexible as possible. It's really going to be on city planning to kind of, identify all the places and all the, like how best this would work, and they'll have to work with various departments, STOMI and DPW primarily, but also Parking Authority, also PRT, perhaps also our local schools and other, religious institutions, whatever, looking at 311 data, all of that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Councilmember. Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 113, please say aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. New papers, Bill 225.
Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Peoples Natural Gas Company, LLC, to allow the integration of natural gas service for a city facilities architecture project in Riverview Park at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 225, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 226.
Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works and/or the director of the Department of Finance on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to execute an instrument for the declaration of restrictions and covenants and appurtenant documents over the vicinity of the city's Spring Hill Park playground as a condition of a national pollution discharge elimination system permit granted in conjunction with property improvements in the area at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second, discussion? I have a question about this. Is there someone here who can speak to this? Thank you very much. Please introduce yourself.
Chris Ornstein with Public Works.
Thank you. Whenever I see MPDES, I get a little nervous. I just would like to learn a little bit more about what the permit is for, and whether we think this will in any way put Spring Hill Park and Playground at risk in any way.
No, I'll point out it won't put it at risk in any way. The permit is for project activities at Spring Hill Park for development. So this is for managing stormwater. These types of covenants are required by the permit process to ensure that, we're building a stormwater management thing. In this case, they're generally around bioretention, natural elements that you use to control stormwater. And they just want to make sure that the infrastructure that we're building is being preserved and not just demolished or paved over in the future because somebody forgot about it.
It's just perfunctory kind of
Yes.
process as part of a renovation, reconstruction.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Wilson.
I just want to say thanks for your work on this project. Community is really looking forward to the completion. Everyone's really excited to see all the construction equipment out there.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see it come together. Thank you.
All right, big project. Thank you.
Congratulations in advance on the project. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
I'm sorry.
Councilman
I'm
Coghill.
sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what this spells, but I do have a question for you. I see activity going on at the Salt Dome. What is, they tore a building down next to it on Route 51?
Yes, sir.
Is that, are we preparing, we've not made the decision to replace that just yet, correct? I mean, they're not tearing the Salt Dome down yet, are they?
No, the plan is moving forward right now.
Right. It's moving forward, but they didn't start it there because there's trailers there and
No,
people excavating. Yeah, because we own land
actual-
next to it and there was a building there. Come on up here, John, please. He seems to know a little. Yeah, come on, buddy. So yeah, I was just driving by the other day, and I'm like, are they starting the salt dome? I don't remember us approving or whatever, but
Good morning.
well, you know about that, Sarah. You know how to introduce yourself. You know that much now.
Is that on? I don't
Yeah. No. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Acting Director Joanne McClory. Yes, they did start tearing down the Georgie's building.
Right. Okay.
So that's
yeah.
what's all fenced
Got
in
it.
right now.
Is that in anticipation of the new salt dome, or is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gotcha. So we're just kind of clearing it.
Still getting
Well,
my-
that's good. The building was just sitting there. It was falling to pieces at this point. So that's good that we have much more space there. That's great. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be nice when it's done.
It will. Yeah, I know. Especially to the eye driving by. I can't stand looking at that thing. So, but okay. No, that's great. Thank you, Director. It's. I was just curious about that. So sorry if I went off subject there. I just had to get that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 226, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Thank you both. Bill 243.
Resolution authorizing the Borough of Crafton to take by eminent domain certain permanent and temporary real estate interests in a portion of that certain parcel of real estate identified by the Allegheny County Assessment Office's Block and Lot 39F280, located within the boundaries of the city of Pittsburgh.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 243, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to Human Resources Committee chaired by Councilperson Charland.
New Papers, Bill 221, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service to enter into a professional services agreement or agreements with Industrial Organization Solutions, Inc. for professional consulting services in connection with police officer recruit candidate examinations and selection services, cost not to exceed $151,980 over 3 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 221, please say aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to Land Use and Economic Development Committee chaired by Councilman Wilson.
New Papers, Bill 228, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and the director of the Department of City Planning to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Trust for Public Land for the purpose of receiving grant funds in the amount of $25,000 to install signage in the city's greenways.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Council President.
What
Lavelle.
signage is being installed? I don't.
Yeah, I haven't been briefed on this. But I know there's a big effort for the greenways. I'm not sure if anyone's here to speak to it.
I have City Planning Director as our listed guest.
We don't need to hold it up. I can reach out to her and ask.
Okay.
We're actually trying to get a sign put up in the Greenway. That's why I'm just curious. But
I'll set it up.
okay.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 228, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 229.
Resolution further amending Resolution 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, as amended, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2019 Capital Budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program, so as to reallocate $55,692.60 of Community Development Block Grant CARES Act funding to the Greater Pittsburgh Community Bank and authorize a subsequent agreement or agreements.
Motion to approve discussion.
Second.
With discussion, Councilman Wilson.
Yes, we have a quick edit here. Everyone sees the yellow paper. Essentially, the funds that the purpose of the funds are to spent in the manner that you see that all these organizations, the task and the services they provide. So, for instance, this one is the Greater Community Food Bank. My understanding is that they're unable to spend $55,000, and so that was determined. The new number of $30,000 was determined the number that they could reasonably spend. So that's just a kind of a quick and clean edit for them. So motion to amend Bill 229.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of amending Bill 229 with a copy in front of us, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill 229 is amended. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 229 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. And to our final committee of the day, Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilman Mosley.
New papers, Bill 224, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of public works, and the director of finance to enter into an easement agreement or agreements with the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority for the installation of certain monitoring boreholes on city-owned parcel IDs 121H20, 82H102, and 48H200 at no cost to the city.
Motion to hold for 4 weeks to respond to some community concerns at the border of District 9 and District 7, that to ensure that they're fully engaged in this process. Working closely with Councilwoman from District 7 on making sure that the residents who will be impacted by this work are fully apprised of the project moving forward.
Second.
There's a motion, a second on a 4-week hold. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 224, I'm sorry, of the 4-week hold on Bill 224, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Bill will be held for 4 weeks. That exhausts our standing committee agenda. We do have meeting announcements. This afternoon at 1:30, council will hold pre-agenda interviews with nominees for Pittsburgh Water and Pittsburgh Land Bank. Next week, council will hold their regular meeting on Tuesday, March 24th, and their standing committees meeting on Wednesday, March 25th, both at 10 a.m. To register to speak at these meetings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage by the deadlines, and you may also call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Is there anything from members? Council President Lavelle.
Motion to hold an executive session on litigation and potential litigation matters.
Second.
And all in favor of the motion to hold an executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will set that up. Anything else from members? All right. With that, I will take a motion to approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.